Kotaku senior editor decided to take on the entire nation of Japan. And when she got some nasty backlash, which I think we need to be better about that, she decided to blame Mark Kern Grummz for the backlash rather than look at herself and see what she has done and realize what she has done is wrong. Before we get to this, I'd like to ask you, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos here at the Trent Report. Also, hit that like button. Let's get more people to watch this video. Beat that YouTube algorithm. Wrote this up over at thatparkplace.com this morning. And before we get into really what Alyssa Mercante had to say here, we do have to provide some context, especially for people who might not be aware of what exactly is happening with Assassin's Creed Shadows. So there has been significant backlash for this upcoming Ubisoft game. There is a change.org petition that currently has over 96,000 signatures and accuses Ubisoft of insulting Japanese culture and history. In fact, it even calls on the company, quote, to immediately discontinue the launch of Assassin's Creed Shadows and show sincere research and respect for Japanese history and culture. So the Japanese people are not happy about what is happening with Assassin's Creed Shadows. We have this YouTuber, Shoei Kondo, who I think does an excellent job of explaining why the Japanese people are not happy with Assassin's Creed Shadows and why they are signing the petition. He first pointed to the fact that Ubisoft is promoting the game as historical and shared comments made by game director Charles Benoit in an interview with Xbox Wire that does indeed confirm that is what they are doing. So Benoit was asked by Xbox Wire, this is a familiar setting for gamers. How does this game differentiate its take on the setting? And Benoit responded saying this, we're at the end of Sengoku era in a turning point of Japan history. Assassin's Creed is well known for its depiction of history and accurate recreation of the world, and it's what players can expect with Assassin's Creed Shadows. We're showing real historical figures such as Oda Nobunaga and a lot of events that happened during that time. So you're not only playing in feudal Japan, but learning about this fantastic time period. That is what he's saying. Charles Benoit, the game director for Assassin's Creed Shadows, told Xbox Wire that this game is historical and that you can learn true history from the game. Learning about this fantastic time period. Those are his words. That is the game director for Assassin's Creed Shadows. He also went on and said, also, we're giving the opportunity to the players to live not just one, but the two best fantasies of Japan, the samurai and shinobi. So after pointing this out, Kondo listed off a number of reasons why he and other Japanese gamers are opposing the game. He says we are protesting marketing DEIs, historical distortion stemming from their disregard for Asians and their arrogance, and discriminatory responses to protest from Japan. He points to Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot basically attacked on people criticizing any of their upcoming games, which included Assassin's Creed Shadows and Star Wars Outlaws, and basically was saying that people were being malicious, and he was basically trying to condemn those people. And the Japanese people took that to heart, saw that as an attack on them, and are saying that he is being discriminatory by going after them for rightfully criticizing Assassin's Creed Shadows for its lack of respect for the Japanese people, Japanese culture, and Japanese history. So that is why the Japanese people are not happy with this game. Ubisoft recognizes this. They see what's happening. If you listen to their earnings call that happened last week, they were extremely evasive on any questions regarding the potential pre-orders or the potential sales for the game. Did not talk about the pre-orders, didn't really kind of give any real solid numbers or solid faith that this game was going to be really good. When asked if it was going to be the best Assassin's Creed, best-selling Assassin's Creed game of all time, the Guillemot was like, it will be one of the best Ubisoft games ever, or best Assassin's Creed games ever, but clearly not saying that it would be the best selling. So, and investors, I think, saw through all of their kind of evasion, their panic, and they dropped this stock like a hot potato, dropped over 10 percentage points, over 12 percentage points at one point. I think it has kind of slightly recovered, or at least it had as of last night when I was looking at it. But so then they released this statement here in a blog post, as well as to post on social media, specifically addressing Japanese players. And it says right here, since the announcement of Assassin's Creed Shadows, we have received many positive reactions, but also some criticism, including from you, our Japanese players. And remember, it says, right, to our esteemed Japanese community. It's specifically addressed to Japanese players, to the Japanese community. It says it in the title, says it in the body of the post right here. And they go on and says, we share your passion for history and deeply respect your care for the historical and cultural integrity of your rich heritage. We would like to address a few points to clarify our intentions and creative decisions. So these are some of the points that they make right here. It says we have put significant effort into ensuring an immersive and respectful representation of feudal Japan. However, our intention has never been to present any of our Assassin's Creed games, including Assassin's Creed Shadows, as factual representations of history or historical characters. That's absolutely contradictory to what Charles Benoit said in that interview with Xbox Wire, where he said you could learn about the true history of that Sengoku era in Assassin's Creed Shadows. So they are 100% doing a 180 on this, completely backtracking. They have 100% actually been selling this game as true history throughout the marketing of the game. And now, because the backlash is rising to literally the Japanese government is being asked questions about this, asked to investigate this, they are now having to issue an apology because it is going through kind of an ethics review, and there's a possibility that this game might be censored in Japan. So nevertheless, Ubisoft goes on and says this: instead, we aim to spark more curiosity and encourage players to explore and learn more about the historical settings we get inspired by. Assassin's Creed Shadows is first and foremost designed to be an entertaining video game that tells a compelling historical fiction set in feudal Japan. I think this is all damage control. They were exposed, they got caught for their lies, and things were about to turn very negative for them, especially financially. And now they are trying to do damage control. They're trying to salvage this, but I think the damage is already done because they don't actually address what Charles Benoit said. They're not actually addressing any of the things that the Japanese people have been complaining about. But they go on and say this: our team extensively collaborated with external consultants, historians, researchers, and internal teams at Ubisoft Japan to inform our creative choices. So they're trying to say, like, oh, we were actually doing this the best. Well, all of those things clearly these people were not good at their jobs. So why aren't you firing them and getting new people to actually do this? And this is something that the Japanese people have asked for as well. They go on to say this: despite these sustained efforts, we acknowledge that some elements in our promotional materials have caused concern within the Japanese community. For this, we sincerely apologize. And again, they were stealing artwork, banner, back flags, lanterns, things that they did not have permission for, that they had to apologize for as well. So they're apologizing again for this. And I do respect them for apologizing for this, but I think it needs to be more specific, because we did get that apology for the back flag, but there's a lot of other things that they have also been accused of as well that they did not get permission to use, that are included in their promotional materials and likely are in the game. And so this is actually really interesting right here, though. All game footage presented so far is in development, and the game will keep evolving until launch. So again, I think this is, again, damage control. They're saying, like, oh, we can actually change this, but they aren't saying that that's what they will be doing. They're just saying it could change. It could change. We might be changing this stuff. But I don't think that that is necessarily going to be the case. It's supposed to release in November. We saw them address Star Wars Outlaws graphics issues in their earnings call, and they basically said the game is gold. We're moving forward. That's it. We aren't actually going to be trying to change that. And I think probably would see a similar response here with Assassin's Creed Shadows. So I think this is all just kind of damage control. Based on the constructive criticism we have received, we will continue our efforts until we put this game into your hands and beyond. We also want to clarify that while we have been consulting with many people throughout the development process, they are in no way responsible for the decisions that are taken by the creative teams in the interest of gameplay and entertainment. That's absolutely not true. They're clearly offering suggestions. They're clearly influencing the developers. So they are responsible, at least into the fact of what they are suggesting. If their suggestions are absolute lies, if they're trying to push woke ideology, if they're trying to push this DEI stuff, they are responsible for their actions. Trying to say that because they don't have the final say on it does not mean that they are not responsible. That is just illogical. Consequently, we respectfully request that any criticism not be directed at our collaborators, both internal and external. Again, that's ridiculous. You should be able to criticize people based on what they are saying. And that's what we're going to be doing here in a little bit with Alyssa Mercante. Not sure if she's actually on the payroll, but she's clearly on Team Ubisoft in this case. So then they kind of finish it off here saying, while we strive for authenticity in everything that we do, Assassin's Creed games are works of fiction inspired by real historical events and figures. From its inception, the series has taken creative license and incorporated fantasy elements to craft engaging and immersive experiences. The representation of Yasuke in our game is an illustration of this. His unique and mysterious life made him an ideal candidate to tell an Assassin's Creed story with the setting of feudal Japan as a backdrop. And then this is the big admission right here. While Yasuke is depicted as a samurai in Assassin's Creed Shadows, we acknowledge that this is a matter of debate and discussion. They are literally marketing this guy as a legendary samurai and have been marketing this game as true history. So, massive concession here. We have woven this carefully into our narrative and with our other lead character, the Japanese shinobi Naui, who is equally important in the game. Our dual protagonists provide players with different gameplay styles. And then it goes on to say, like, we value your feedback and encourage you to continue sharing your thoughts respectfully. So Mercante responded to this post from the official Assassin's Creed account, accusing the entire nation of Japan of being racists. And this is what she wrote. Maybe just say your racist response to a video game is indicative of moral decay. Get bent instead of this. So she is suggesting that instead of Ubisoft issuing this lengthy statement here, that they just refer to the Japanese people as racist. And that is exactly what she's saying here. She is calling Japanese people racist. It's sick. It's disgusting. It's absolutely vile. It shows her character. It shows that she is just pushing all kinds of evil things, and she must be opposed. We must call this stuff out, but we must do it respectfully. We must do it where we argue against her arguments rather than trying to attack her personally. But we can still call her arguments disgusting, sickening, and nasty. And we can also say that what she is doing does indeed reflect on her character. And I think it does. What she does reflects on who she is, but I don't think we need to be stooping to any kind of insults or ad hominems or anything like that. We just need to be calling out her arguments. So not only did she accuse the entire nation of Japan, all of the Japanese people of racism, of being racist, she went and published an article on Kotaku claiming that anyone criticizing Ubisoft was engaging in hate. Her headline blares, "This was never about anything other than hate." She then declares in the article, "A fledgling but ferociously loud group of gamers will tell you the Assassin's Creed Shadows backlash is about respecting Japanese culture or refusing to accept woke ideologies that are being forced into their games by consulting groups who hold no real power." If they didn't hold any real power, why are the companies hiring them? And we are actually talking about respecting Japanese culture, and we are talking about refusing to accept woke ideologies. Those things are indeed true. And she's going to try and gaslight you and say that they're not, which is exactly what she does here. But just like in 2014, during the first full-throated iteration of Gamergate, this was never about anything other than hate. So it's not about what we're actually saying or how we're actually taking action. It's about some mysterious thing that she can't actually point to that's about hate. And this is what how she supports this claim, right? She writes this, that the responses to Ubisoft's post, quote, were exactly what you'd expect: racist images, slurs, and calls for historical accuracy in a video game series. So, so when it's not actually about calling for historical accuracy or respecting Japanese culture, when people are literally doing that, right? So she actually admits that point, that is actually true, while trying to disparage it. You literally can't make this stuff up here. That has always been steeped in science fiction, except that we just went over this. They literally said that you could learn true history from this game. If you go to Ubisoft's website, they're literally partnering with historical associations across the world. I mean, I think they have some like historical display for their Assassin's Creed Mirage game that they're doing with a foreign government to talk about how like this is how this city would have looked like, that no longer exists now, but this is what it looks like. So they do indeed push their validity of how they're portraying historical accuracy. And they do this throughout their company. It's not just limited to Assassin's Creed Shadows here. She then points to an unpublished community note, a feature frequently used by users to add context to posts. And it has this a pretty nasty reading here. Who knows who wrote that, though, right? Who knows if it's actually someone who is against Ubisoft or if it's someone like Mercante trying to gaslight people. You just don't know now. And that's the unfortunate thing about the society we live in. There is such this lack of trust. And we have people that are just so disingenuous and they will go out of their way to lie to push their narratives. I find it just sickening and repulsive. We need to get back to the truth does indeed matter. We need to get honest people talking about these things. Alyssa Mercante, clearly not one of them. But that is her evidence of that it's all directed. It's all about hate. Even though she literally says that one of the pieces is historical accuracy in a video game. Like, you literally can't make this stuff up. So not only does Mercante declare that Japanese gamers and others criticizing the game are just fueled by hate, but she absurdly claims it is connected to U.S. politics. That's right. The Japanese people criticizing this game in Japan are somehow being motivated or somehow connected to U.S. politics. So she writes this: the reactionary right-wing movement in gaming that has reared its ugly head yet again is no different, and it's just happening, and it's happening right now for a reason. Socio-cultural issues are reaching a fever pitch in an election year, and just like 10 years ago, political ire is bleeding into popular culture, where it has been seized upon by those looking to take advantage of naive, impressionable young men who are shunned in public but lauded and even loved online. So she goes on and writes a bunch of other nonsense, and she eventually comes to the conclusion here. There will never be a shortage of hate for them to spread. The only way forward is a full-throated denouncing of bad actors in the video game space from the biggest names in the business, the largest companies in this industry. Not a bizarre, ham-handed statement that will lend credence to their baseless BS that implies that their arguments are rooted in logic when hate itself is illogical. And that really gets to the crux of it. Everything that Mercante is writing here is absolute projection because it is her article. It is her arguments that are absolutely illogical, that don't make any sense, that are full of contradictions, that are full of hypocrisy. So just utter insanity here, inanity. So, but following the publication of this article, she shared a number of posts reacting to the article, also reacting to her, heavily criticizing the article as well as insulting her. And then she went on and blamed Mark Kern for these responses. And this is what she wrote on X. This is all happening because Mark Kern tagged me from behind a block and said that I'm attacking all Japanese people when I don't even mention them at all. Again, complete and 100% gaslighting. The post is directed towards the Japanese people. It says it multiple times. It's at the top of their header. It addresses it in the body. And she is literally saying that that Ubisoft, instead of issuing the response that they did, they should have just called all of the Japanese people racist. So I think she's playing dumb. And then she's trying to blame Mark Kern after she got caught for her stupidity, trying to gaslight people. It's sick. It's disgusting. Dishonest. Like I said, zero integrity. And the fact that she has this platform at Kotaku is just wrong. And Kotaku shouldn't exist for even allowing stuff like this to be published because it does a disservice to the common good. It is clearly just a bunch of lies. It is divisive. It is trying to undermine the unity that is actually coming here with gamers opposing what this massive corporation is trying to do by gaslighting people, by trying to change history, by pushing all of their DEI woke ideologies in the game and trying to say that this is how it's always been in Japan. It's sick, it's wrong, and it must be opposed. But as I said earlier, that some of these insulting comments that were given to her are I find repulsive and repugnant and are unnecessary. We do not need to be lowering ourselves to her level. Instead, I think her arguments should be addressed and mocked rather than directing anything towards her person, because like us, she is also made in the image and likeness of God. We should listen to the words of Jesus Christ. You have heard that it was said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, that you may be children of your heavenly Father. For he makes his sun rise on the bad and the good and causes rain to fall on the just and the unjust. For if you love those who love you, what recompense will you have? Do not the tax collectors do the same? And if you greet your brothers only, what is unusual about that? Do not the pagans do the same? So be perfect, just as your heavenly Father is perfect. And one of the ways we can love our enemies without actually having to interact with them is to pray for them. And that is exactly what we should be doing for Alyssa Mercante. We should be praying for her. We should be praying that God softens her heart, that she realizes what she is doing is wrong, what she is doing is divisive, what she is doing is tearing people apart, what she is doing is opposed to the common good. She will have that revelation. Maybe it takes a couple of years to get there, but God works on her, and she eventually repents and realizes what she has done and changes course. And I think we have lots of examples in history of people doing that. St. Paul, obviously, the biggest. He was literally rounding up Christians to have them executed. And he goes on to become the greatest evangelizer of Christianity the world has ever seen, aside from Jesus Christ. So it is possible, and we must pray for her and hope that God does indeed soften her heart. Conversion does indeed happen. It happens every single day, and God works miracles every single day. So that's what I have to say on this. Let me know what you guys make of this. Let me know in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, especially to each other, but to always speak the truth.